Hello, for those that have already joined us. We're getting ready to rock and roll in about T-minus 3 minutes. Just want to let you guys know, thanks for joining in. We're going to rock and roll pretty shortly. Talk to you all soon. We're holding on for just about 1 more minute, guys. Still got a lot of people still funneling in right now. But we're going to start up in about a minute and a half, fellas. All right, all right. How are we doing, folks? Thank you for joining in. If you can do me a quick favor, those who are on the call right now, if you could just send a quick chat, let me know if you guys can hear me, if you can see me correctly. Each of you guys should have that chat feature there. Just say, hey, I hear you. All right, got a couple responses in. That's good. That's good. Is there anybody out there that cannot hear me? If this is a no-no. All right, I guess we're going to be good to go ahead and get started. All right, guys, let's rock and roll. First and foremost, I want to tell you guys thanks for joining me today. I plan on giving you guys a lot of great content. It's going to be pretty powerful. I'll set out the ground rules ahead of time here, right? I don't ask a lot, guys. Number one thing that I ask out of you guys, listen, I promise you two important things. You want to have a notepad, you want to have a pen and paper with you, and you want to keep your phone on silent. Like, really, if you don't got your girl or spouse or somebody that's about to give birth, or you're waiting to hear from somebody that's on the deathbed right now, Don't let anything distract you guys from the from the information you're going to get out of this webinar today. All right. And that's pretty much it, guys. Listen, just kind of keep your phones down so you don't get distracted. I personally won't hear it, but I don't want you guys to miss any of the content. This should run really no longer, guys, than about an hour or so. Might be shorter, might be a little longer if there's any questions coming in on the back end of it. But outside of that, guys, we're going to have a lot of fun here and get rocking and rolling. So let's just jump right into it. Who am I? Well, first off, a lot of you guys are going to know me in a different way, a couple different capacities. You might know me as Coach G. You might just simply know me as George. At the end of the day, credential-wise, I'm a certified mindful habit coach. We do what I like to do, which is to kind of discuss who you are minus any particular label or role. End of the day, guys, I'm just simply a guy that lost a hell of a lot. And when I say a hell of a lot, I mean everything. And I'm going to discuss that for you. I'm also a same guy that lost it all and got it back better than when I had it before. All right. And the only goal that I have in meeting with each of you all today through this webinar is that simply I'm looking to create a movement. End of the day, guys, I want to create a movement of radical new breed of men who are armed with new habits that are committed and dedicated to living a new lifestyle. Period, point blank. I don't care where you fall in that spectrum, but if you're ready to be a part of something that doesn't change, doesn't go away, keep you in the right focus you need to be day in and day out, I'm glad you guys are here. You know somebody that fits the bill, hurry up and send them but the email real quick and tell them to jump on the webinar. It's about to be great, guys. All right, so let's just take a look at this. Today, we're going to cover a bit of information. First and foremost, you guys get to hear my story, and it's something I like to kind of affectionately refer to as the fucking couch story. And again, guys, I curse, but you're going to understand where it comes from as we go through this webinar here. The second part about this, guys, is that I'm going to jump right into the title of this webinar. We're going to discuss victim, villain, and victor. How to live a life shame and guilt free. Right, and we're going to look into that, and it's a lot of pieces that go into that. I think we're hitting home on that on a great time. I'm pretty sure everybody on the call has either heard about the what was the Deadpool. We got Batman versus Superman out around the corner. We're going to have X-Men. This is like superhero time right now, right? So if you're anything like me as a child, you probably identify with a particular superhero. But we're going to talk about how do you go from being a victim to the superhero? How do you go from being the Lois Lane to Superman, right? How do you go from being the scared little kid standing in the alley to, who knows, becoming the worst villain there is? We're going to talk about all of that. We're going to also jump into, guys, what exactly is the mindful habit? What is this program that has impacted thousands of men across the globe, has helped them create new habits that lead them into a better direction for their life, freeing them of the compulsive issues of sex, pornography, you name it, they've done it. Hell, I've done it, right? But what is the mindful habit about? And I'm also going to discuss my top 2 pieces that I use specifically with the men that I coach one-on-one. And last but not least, guys, I'm going to also make sure that you guys learn firsthand how you can become a part of this movement, or you can become a part of our online community. Fair enough, guys? Awesome, awesome. Let's go ahead and jump into it, guys. And we're going to jump in where I started at to it, and I want to kind of give you guys a quick picture. I want you to kind of, if you can, you don't got to close your eyes, but I want you to envision summertime. For me, it was July, late June, July of 2013. I want you to envision yourself having every possession in the world that you want, that you felt you need. You have the life, quote unquote, that you feel you're supposed to have. You got your spouse, you got kids, you got your significant other, however that looks. You got a roof over your head. You maybe got a vehicle or 2 to drive, right? All those pieces come into play. And keep that same image. And then when you open your eyes or you come back to the next point, it's all gone. And guys, that's where I was back in 2013. I was on I was on my mom's couch. I had literally just lost everything. The winter before then, November before then, my wife had left me with my 2 youngest kids because of my addictive ways. I dealt with everything from porn addiction to drug addiction. I had been demoted from my job. I had become homeless for the second time. My children thought of me as a monster. You know, my oldest son is starting to mimic the crazy habits that I'm displaying right now. And I'm looking up, and that's when I had on that couch this holy shit moment. And I'm sorry, even if you're a person that don't cuss, if you ain't reached that point even mentally just yet, this might not be the webinar for you. Because I'm talking to people who have really hit something hard, but still want to be a high level individual. So for me, you know, I'm coming from a place where I'm earning 50,000 plus a year. You know, I'm somewhat touted as like this good sales guy in my previous profession. And everybody on the outside sees the greatness that's happening with George. But the reality really hits, and I look up and I'm sitting on mama's couch. I've lost literally every possession I have. I'm stuck with my oldest son and my dog in my mid-30s, guys. And I just had my holy shit moment. Like, how the hell did I get here? Like, this was not part of the game plan at any point in time. There was nothing in my life that said that, hey, you're going to have to regroup, redo your entire life structure in the middle of what you think of where you finally have a good pace of life set. You know, mid-30s, wife, kids. I mean, you don't really look for too much more at that point in time. But on that couch, guys, on that couch, listen, I just wasn't a husband. You know, I wasn't a father. I wasn't this great salesman. I wasn't even a trusted son. I wasn't the best role model for people around me. I gave a great first impression. But really, guys, I was sitting there, a monster to my kids. I was, you know, for someone being a Christian, I was now in this category of, you know, beyond a sinner. Like, am I so far gone that God don't want nothing else to do with me anymore, right? I'm a porn addict. I'm a drug addict, a horrible husband to a woman that literally sacrificed every single thing in the world for me, right? And I'm stuck on this couch, and I'm like, how the hell did I get here? And I got to tell you guys, on that couch is where I finally decided, okay, things got to change. Now, let's understand that process, because like I just got done telling you guys, this wasn't an overnight piece that happened to me, right? It's not like I woke up one day and everything's gone in my life. That's not what took place at all. What happened was that I really had a chance to just realize that my life had taken this downward spiral that I was just blinded to. I didn't see it. And we talk about who I was on the couch. Guys, listen, before the couch, I can talk about me having these possessions, a couple cars, roof over the head. You know, I'm doing great at my job. You know, all these things are looking good. But the truth of the matter is, guys, before I was on that couch and I was in my home and I had my wife and I'm driving these vehicles and I'm able to see family, friends, whatever the case may be, I'm depressed. I'm still sitting there with low self-esteem, right? I'm a liar. Let me just put that flatly. Like, you know, we try to paint this great picture. Like, no, I'm just trying to give you the best case scenario. No, guys, listen, flat out, I was a liar living a fake life. It was so bad that it wasn't up until, you know, we're in April right now. It wasn't until literally within the past 6 months that my mother, woman who knows me inside and out, 37 years plus, she finally was able to say, you know, George, hey, look, I couldn't trust you. I couldn't believe a single word that came out of your mouth for about the first 35 to 36 years of your life. And I'm like, are you serious? She's like, yeah, it's only been recently, George, that I really started trusting the words that have been coming out of your mouth, right? My own mom, right? So, I mean, look, guys, if my mom wasn't trusting me, what was really happening with the people that barely knew me? I got a woman that knows me for 37 years, and the people that I'm coming across is just coming as a bullshit piece, right? And I was just horrible. I was addicted to living up to roles and labels. Like, I was that guy that never wanted to face my own reality. So I sought every role possible I could be. Like, it didn't matter how poor the role was. Like, George is this salesman, and George will be a workaholic, which is what I did. I had no problem working 7 days a week, 10 hours a day, if that's what the schedule could offer for me to be able to do, right? I sought out ways to just increase who I thought I was. George is a drug addict. George is, you know, a porn addict. Well, yeah, George can do all these great labels, but George still shows up at work. Hooray for George. George still tucks kids in at night. Hooray for George. But I'm adding on all these different labels with it. And I was addicted to trying to find as many labels as possible to help me outrun the bullshit that was my life. And the reality was, guys, that I put up such a facade of just being to try to hide the fact that I was horrible, that when it all caught up with me, that's what made it seem so all of a sudden. You know, when I had that holy shit moment, I'm sitting on my couch, my mom's couch, like, how the hell did I get here? That's how it happened. I made myself completely absent and blind to what I really felt at that time. And then we're going to fast forward, guys, and we look at before I was on the couch. We look at, when I was on the couch, but what is life like once you leave the couch? And I got to tell you guys, the number one thing that happened for George leaving that couch, it was a transition. But the first part about it was that I just had to gather my identity. Like, I want you guys to think about that for a minute. A lot of you all here probably encountered something along those lines, some type of failure, some type of setback in your life, unplanned, maybe larger than what you thought you may have prepared yourself for. And there's a point you got to ask yourself, like, well, damn, who am I? Because I failed, does that make me a failure? Like I got done telling you guys, my identity was wrapped around roles and labels. I thought that, okay, good, George is a father. George is a husband. George is a provider. George is, all these different pieces. George is an addict. George is this. George knows how to function and be a functioning addict in so many capacities, right? But the reality of it is that when all that left me, all I was then left with was the fact that I'm a horrible dad. I'm an addict in these areas. I'm a sinner, all these things. And I'm like, damn, is that my identity? Like the junk that's left when all the positive roles leave my life? So what I had to find was my identity beyond roles and labels. And I hammered that in to my guys. We're going to talk about that a little bit more, especially with the topic of this webinar here. But when I came off of that couch, guys, I was a person that just was secure in his identity. And what does that really mean? We talk about identity a lot, and heck, even as men, we throw that term around so frequently. Identity for me, guys, meant that I was finally free to be who I was, where I was strongest. It was me secured with the correct mindset, trust, and appropriate actions to go about and handle any task in front of me. It didn't require me to change for the role, right? That's the biggest problem we as men deal with about our identity, right? We believe our identity is what that event has changed us into. We believe our identity now is about being a husband. Like, what does husband mean? Slow down. You can't do this anymore. Can't do that. And when you think about that, we think about all the crazy junk that we can do, but we forget that it also in some way impacts our identity. Like that whole part that says you got to slow down some. You can't be so reckless maybe when just the thinking, not necessarily about the actions, right? We were talking about healthy behaviors here on this webinar, but that doesn't mean that you change your entire identity to now conform to this particular role. Right? So now what that mean for George with my identity is that I didn't have to become the husband. George is George stepping into a husband role. I don't got to become a top rep for anybody. George is George stepping into that role. Right? I remain who I am no matter what. And here's what happened with that, guys. When I got solid on my identity, when I went through this process of, number one, I had to gain the habits, and habits simply is about what the hell do we do? Like, what is the day in, day out routine that needs to happen? Now, past the habits, guys, I then had to invest in a philosophy. And that philosophy is my-trac. I'm going to discuss that with you guys in a bit. But it's about your mindset, your trust, and your action. And then finally, once I had my habits intact, I had a philosophy for life intact to operate my habits around. Like, this is my circle, habits fit inside of here. Well, then now that gives me my lifestyle. It's not about being that 50-plus-year-old guy waking up and all of a sudden you're wondering where your life went to and, who am I now? And you got midlife crisis going on. It's not about any of that, guys. This is how we avoid that trip. Okay, but that's who I was when I had a chance to finally get off of that couch, right? So let's just jump right into it, guys, right? Let's just take a look at this topic of victim, villain, and victor, right? And before we get started, guys, I would be doing this topic so much disservice if I didn't at least tell you guys who the heck was my favorite superheroes, right? Like, when I grew up, my mom still is like, she will still get upset about this to this day, how I would turn her house upside down to make like a bat cave in the living room. I mean, I know I'm not the only guy that made a fort, right? Out of the blankets, you know, you put the little stick or whatever in the middle kind of deal. Yeah, we've all done that kind of stuff, right? Like that was me all day long. I was king of imaginary friends and superheroes, and I always wanted to be a superhero. I had the whole house planned out for it. My favorite ones growing up, guys, I want to talk about three. Now, the first two, they're my favorites. My favorites. That's the Incredible Hulk and Batman. Like literally for me, with those two, you got the strongest dude out there and you got the smartest dude out there. You got a dude that's so strong he can be dumb and still get the job done. And then you got another guy who's so smart he can be the weakest person in the entire crew, but take out everybody else, right? Now, the third one that I'm going to talk about a little bit later, just a little bit later, is Iron Man. I personally don't like the guy. He's not my favorite cup of tea. Right? But I'm going to talk about, even though why he's not my favorite, how those parts of him still bring him into the light for where we're going to take this discussion, right? So those are my tops, right? You know, Batman, Hulk, you guys can go ahead and chat your favorite ones if you want right now. Matter of fact, go ahead and do that for me, guys. Just send a text send a little note, who's your favorite superhero, right? Now, here's what's important about this scenario when we talk about villains, victims, and victors. Every last person on this call, every single person, you are or hold the ability and the capacity to either be villain, victim, or victor. Now, offhand, when people hear that and you throw out the question that says, well, who do you want to be? Do you want to be the victim, the villain, or the victor? You can only pick one. Or better yet, the question more so is, who do you not want to be? If you had to pick one out of those three to not be. The irony of that is that people choose to not be the villain. People don't mind being the victim. People always want to be the victor, right? But people don't mind saying that I don't want to be the villain. And we're going to talk about how great the freaking villain is. And we're going to put all this back onto the victim. Right? So let's talk about that. Every last one of you guys, we talked about it. This Batman, it's the Hulk. I see some guy, you're like, I like Superman. I'm not mad at you, brother. I'm not mad at you. But let's take a look at the event. All three of those individuals came from one freaking event, right? Like we look at Batman, right? Somebody is shot. Like they're coming out of the theater, bang, bang. Mom and dad are shot. We immediately at that point know who are victims. We know who the villain is. And if you never knew anything about the story, you might begin to question, where now is the victor? Where is the hero in this whole process here, right? Well, here's what we're going to look at. That same scenario created all three people. The villain really wasn't a villain until he did something to become a villain. But he's there. The victims, they're there. And then you have the victor. That's there. You got three different outcomes that happen from one event. Now, here's what we got to understand about the victim, the victor, and the villain, right? All three of them experience the exact same feelings. Villain, victim, victor. They all experience fear. They all experience doubt. They all experience anger, pain, joy, like whatever you want to call it. All three individuals experience the exact same thing. Here's the difference. They all create their own truths, right? Here's what's more important. When I mention a victim, and this is where I get in trouble a lot of times, so I'm going to go ahead and clarify this because, you know, I've talked to people who have been in a lot of different backgrounds, and they it's something about being a victim that they almost don't want to let go of. Like if you have ever been, you know, sexually abused, heaven forbid, that victim piece is something that people have like grabbed onto and say, you can't take that from me. Make no mistake about it. The villain, the victim, and the victor, they aren't who they are because of the event. I want to repeat that to you guys. Villain, victim, victor. They are not like that because solely of that event. What makes them a villain, a victim, or a victor, the hero, is what they do after that event. Right? I mean, that's it. It's what they do after that event. Let's take each one of the examples that I just mentioned to you guys, right? Oh, you gave me a throwback, Brother Williams. I see, greatest American hero, love him. But let's look at that example. Let's talk about Batman, for example, right? I mean, that's a pretty popular one thing. Everybody knows the whole makeup of how Batman gets started, right? How does he become this hero? Well, let's look at the options he has. Bang, bang, mom, dad dropped. Well, first option he has is that he now becomes excessively fearful of anything ever coming in front of him. And not that fearful is bad. I'm not saying fear is bad, but it is to the extent that it doesn't allow you to leave that mode of thinking that the worst will always happen. He had that choice to remain a victim. Little Bruce Wayne. Truth be told, Bruce Wayne had a choice to become a villain. It's easy to look at that and say, well, I want to be the most powerful person out of this scenario. No victor showed up to my rescue right now. All I got is victims around me and a villain. The villain's the most powerful thing in front of me right now. I could become a villain. He doesn't choose that. He chooses to become the victor. He chooses that. People even wonder how does the villain not be the villain because they committed that particular act? Again, it's about the mindset after it. It's what happens after the fact, right? I mean, even from, if we just took like superhero, the concept, and made it actually real life. Well, I'm sorry. There isn't a single superhero on a real life scale that does what they do to a villain that don't kill anybody. I don't care what you show you, but pretty much every real superhero would operate a heck of a lot like a rated R Deadpool from the standpoint that they're just slicing and dicing people, and you see bad guys thrown across the way. Now, the difference with that, though, is that we make the allocation for the victor. We say, oh, well, no, he's fighting the villain. No, death is death. The action still happens. But what happens after that event? So the Batman villain, guys, look, he could have decided 1,001 things after that event. He could have decided to turn himself in. He could have decided to never do it again. He could have decided that he was going to be a guy that becomes a hero to right the wrongs. He could have been a guy that says, oh my gosh, I shot somebody. I'm now going to cower and turn into the victim. Right? And I'm just going to hide in my bubble right now because I can't believe it. This is a crazy thing. All of it is possible in every single area, right? Now, here's what's important, though, that I want you guys to understand. And here's why I don't beat up the villains. Like, I respect villains. Make no mistake about it. I respect the hell out of villains. Almost a little bit more than victors. But before we get to those two, we got to talk about the victim, because I don't care where you decide to go. You can be a villain and be just the asshole all your life. Completely fine. I got a handful of them as good friends. You can decide to be a victor. And those are the ones that I really look forward to working with day in and day out. Day in and day out, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's pound this and let's go. What's unacceptable is the victim, because I want to help you guys understand the victim. Once the victim encounters the event, the victim goes forward now only anticipating the event. More importantly than anticipating the next event, the villain begins to anticipate that, the victim begins to anticipate, dang, is the villain going to get me first, and will the victor come save me? They're in a standstill waiting game with life. They're waiting for the bad junk to happen and waiting for someone to come and save them. Villains, they go head on after it. They go head on after it, and they don't care what's in the way. They're true to who they are and where they remain. Same thing with the victor. But the problem is, for the victim, is that, number one, the victim, if you choose to remain a victim, you will never become a victor. It doesn't happen. Here's what does happen to people who choose to remain a victim. They ultimately become the villain. Every single time. When someone's been victimized to that degree and to a certain point, and they prolong that mentality within themselves, well, now they in turn become the villain as well. Right? So they went from being the person that feared the villain to was hoping to be saved by the victor. And who knows, maybe the victor didn't show up once or twice, right? But we all know that bad shit will happen day in and day out, right? but we know that the victor may not show up. I mean, it's always more victims than it is going to be a victor. Unfortunately, it's just how it operates. It's how it is, right? It's how some of us sometimes have problems and wonder why nobody's around to help us out with our problems, because we're stuck in victim mentality, waiting for someone to come and provide the reason, waiting for someone to come and do the easy work for us, right? And so I got to tell you that as much as a victim is always sought by the villains and the victors, because, hey, let's keep it honest, a villain can't be a villain without doing something bad to a victim. A victor can't be the hero of the story without having someone to save. So unfortunately, victims end up being there. The issue of this is whether you make that decision that says, I'm going to remain the victim, or I'm going to make a decision to become the victor or the villain, right? So let's kind of move this bit a little bit further here, right? And I want to discuss exactly how important it is for you guys to fight this victimhood, is what I'm going to call it. And listen, you're looking at me right now, right? I'm a 5'7", 155 pound soaking wet guy, black guy here, right? And I'm telling you right now, you got to fight victimhood. Listen, you fight victimhood as strongly as you want to oppose racism. Period, point blank. And let me help you understand why in both of those contexts. Because the number one piece, two things. Number one, they're both based on false beliefs. Victim just believes bad shit is going to happen to him. The difference is the victor knows that bad shit happens, but he's still going to be a victor at the end of the day. Like, he knows that bad event will not change who the hell he is. Same thing with villains. Villains know their plots will get foiled by the victors soon enough, but they're always going to go back and be the exact same thing. All right? So we got to look at that point, and I don't want you guys to get confused in that, but we fight victimhood to the point of where, the second part of it is because when we remain a victim, even people that look at racism, this is on both sides, both sides of it, right? Well, when we look at that piece, what it really does, it releases accountability. Being a victim releases accountability, right? Being a victim to racism, it releases accountability. Look, I'm sorry, I deal with it. I experience it. Like, I've experienced like real, true racism, not prejudice where somebody decides to post crazy junk online that's about black folks. Not the thing that says I'm walking in the store and someone gives me an ugly eye and they decide that, no, I mean when someone based on their views of my race decides to impact me and my economics and my ability to earn for my family solely based on my race. Like, I'm talking like real racism, like impacts my ability to interact within society. I've dealt with the cops, I've dealt with employers, I've dealt with a lot. Trust me. I was the victim and I kept it. I was the guy that was going around saying, just need to blame it on the man. I'm never going to have a leg up. Blame it on the man. And we take both of those areas, guys, and we run with it. We look for heroes in that context. And it's funny because in this context, just two quick areas that we look at, guys. I mean, we look at our politics and our religion, and we seek some measure of redemption or even validation for us to remain a victim or to deal with racism, even out of those contexts of it, right? And I just want you guys to understand that, like, the difference with that is that we have to maintain the level of accountability. So you want to know how a victim ultimately transforms into the villain or into the victor. Well, it comes back to accountability. Victims have no accountability. They simply believe life is life. And again, we're talking after the event. Look, because you got beat up doesn't make you a victim. Again, I'm 5'8". I can talk as much junk as I want. Somebody that's 6'10", 400 pounds walks up on me, they can pummel me. The next day, do I start hiding? The next day, am I in this fear mode of life? The next week, am I still hiding? The next month, am I still hiding? If I now change my lifestyle and my habits simply because of that event, that's what makes a victim. So when we get rid of that accountability, we're victims. When we accept accountability, we transition into the villain or into the victor. It's just about accountability, guys. Like, For example, and I'm going to talk, from my perspective right now, guys. I'll never forget, we're going on what now, good 8-9 years ago, we get our first black president, right? Barack Obama. This isn't about for us to kind of spit about our religious views or for our political views. That is however you decide for it to be. But me, in victim mode, right? With a lot of other people, as great, happy as we are to see the reality happen of a black man becoming president of the United States, the next part went to this was that, got a black president as president, got a black man as president. Can't wait for my house to just, woo! I'm supposed to expect a special check because President Black gonna take care of my household. President Black gonna take care of my kids. My President Black, he gonna take care of my bills. My President Black, he gonna make me get extra money. Really? So what does that mean? I don't gotta look after my kids anymore? Does that mean I don't gotta go out and fill out an application and get a job? Does that mean I don't gotta sit up here and bust my ass at my job or in my life to get to the next level? Because trust, had I sat around for the last 8 years, I would have been only homeless once because I would have never got back into another home to get homeless again. These are the traps we tend to fall into. You choose where you want this to be. But the moment we decide to give up accountability for where our life is, you're in a victim mode. And unfortunately, people love showing victims. Everybody you see on TV, 9 times out of 10, you're looking at victims. Or villains, right? Because that's what we publicize, right? It's funny, even in the context that we're discussing this right now, everybody's aware of the victim. And when you look at a superhero story, here's the one drawback, and this is why I had to include Iron Man. Everybody knows who the victim is. Everybody, for the most part, knows who the villain is, right? Victors always tend to stay out of the scenes. They're always caught like in that glimpse going off, except Iron Man. Like, the reason why I used to hate that dude is the reasons why I'm including him in my webinar now is because he let the whole world know who he was. I'm here. Whether you're in the comments or you like looking at the movies, I'm here. Come get me. I'm not going to wait for the next event to take place. I'm making an open season on this victor because I won't even be a victim to waiting on another victim. I'm putting myself front forward. If the villain want me, villains can come get me. Think about that for a minute though. How often are we hiding behind something? How often are we really seeking to not display our full worth? Right? How often are we really trying to choose that Clark Kent persona, right? Like, we go around life as Clark Kent, but on the inside of us, we're sitting here struggling trying to contain Superman. Like, I know I'm more than this moment. I know I'm more than this. And I'm not talking about your job, guys. I'm not talking about like the income per se. I'm talking about how you present yourself, right? Where are you at in that time, right? I'm going to keep it moving here, some guys, but I want to connect this to one other piece that, because I may not be familiar with victims and villains, but the piece that most hits home for me with this, guys, is when we look at our own persona and we're trying to decide what's acceptable, right? Villain and victor. Well, number one piece is that they all came out of the same individual. It's just a matter of perception. So when we talk about perception, guys, I want you all to look at an acorn and an oak tree. What's the difference between an acorn and an oak tree? Truth be told, not a damn thing, just time. They're exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing, right? However, when we see an acorn, what do we really think about? Right? Cracked shell, broken, probably disregarded like an afterthought, right? And a lot of us consider ourselves that way after the event. After that acorn drops from the tree, that's what happens to we walk over acorns. We step on, we even curse an acorn if we slip on it somehow on the street, right? Damn acorn. Let the acorn become a tree. All of a sudden, wow, majestic. You give me comfort. You provide me shade. You have purpose here. You're no longer considered this nuance. You give me shelter, the whole nine. We adore this tree that we scorned as an acorn, guys. And I want you to look at that with what this is in your own life. In your own life, have you just accepted that after that event happened and you got cracked somehow, you got damaged, did you accept that as your life and negate the fact that you're still here to grow into something majestic, powerful, strong, that provides comfort and shelter to others? Like, that's all about you. You can't forget about what the process is. It is exactly the same thing. You just got to make the right perception out of the process of it. It's strictly that. Who I am today and who I was 4 years ago, 3 years ago. Hell, you ask my wife, she'll tell you 15 years ago. But it's different yet the same, and it's all about the process. All about the process. For those of y'all who haven't done it yet, opt into the future webinars because I got a great one that's going to be coming out pretty soon. Talk about I'm glad I'm so fucked up. Because it's about the process that we go through to get to where we're going to be. The process of how we left that age of being a victim to go into being a victor. Right? So I want us all to understand that in this transformation of you all going from victim to victor, or hey, look, maybe you decide to be victim to villain. It's fine. I need you to understand that this is about perception. It's about perception and you deciding to make the choice of what's going to impact you. Do you wait for the next event, or do you now go forward and you create the event? Right? Create the event. I mean, look, even if for those of you guys who's even seen any of the, whether you read comic books or not, I mean, go back to Superman. Look, when Superman had to fight people, but in the comics, when he had to deal with Doomsday from like Indiana or Smallville all the way to Metropolis, wherever the heck the Doomsday battle started and ended, you don't think damage happened in that point? Not the event that defines you. It ain't even about the junk we go through in the process of it, guys. But you got to know that as a victor, you're allowed to now confront your villains and you don't get to be a victim. And if you choose to be a villain, hey, that's fine as well. Go right ahead, you know, that's fine as well. But make the decision, guys. I want you all to make that decision, okay? Now, wrapping it up, guys, here, I want to go ahead and let you guys know exactly what the mindful habit system is. And the reason why I love the mindful habit system, when I was on that couch and I needed to first, like that process I told you guys, right? It was habits to philosophy to lifestyle, right? It is how I made that transition to becoming a radical new breed of a man with new habits that's dedicated and committed to living a new lifestyle. Well, when I went through that process, guys, the mindful habit was the first place that I learned how to get my habits. Like, if you're not familiar with it and what we do with the mindful habit, guys, you got to get on board with this program. It is an action-oriented, I want to say that again, action-oriented, goal-centric, science-based structured behavioral change modality. Okay, I gave you guys a ton of big words, and half of that I had to kind of go ahead and repeat right off the paper to make sure that I got it right for you guys, right? But here's what I want you to understand. With the mindful habit, we focus on being in the now and the control of your thoughts that lead to the actions. It is an acknowledgement that, look, we all have triggers, period. Biologically hardwired, period. With mindfulness, we now teach you techniques to harness those triggers. So that way now you're going to be able to adopt new behaviors no matter what the trigger is. It's about how we condition you to change the thought patterns that then lead you into the action, right? So with the mindful habit, and guys, I got to tell you, I have enjoyed so much working with my guys one-on-one, but there are two parts to the mindful habit that when I get a chance to meet with my guys one-on-one coaching and I break down these two parts, I love the aha moments that come about with it, right? And some of y'all have gotten this for free, like online, so back me up with it, post it. But listen, guys, no, seriously, the first of it is just the basic 3-step premise of the mindful habit, and we do this with every single step. It's about number one, awareness, followed by accountability, followed by action. And here's what's great about this, right? Like, I coach men, and a lot of you guys here are familiar with me through the Mindful Habit or Feed the Right Wolf. And when I coach a man that's dealing with a compulsive sex issue, I've coached people dealing with weight issues. I've coached them dealing with, just having, when I say compulsive sex, you're looking to talk about porn or prostitution, but then there's men that just haven't even had an intimate relationship with their significant other in years. So as I'm coaching him with this process of it, right? Well, we do the baseline, but what's important is that I let them know that this is simply about awareness, people. Like whatever happens, we just got to be aware that number one, it happened without judgment that goes into play. So the one component that I like to make sure comes loud and clear is about mindfulness. I include that with awareness because mindfulness means that you don't place judgment on the event. You're present without judgment to the event that happened. So what does that mean? That means that I get up, I walk, I stub my toe. Bam! Oh, pain. I stub my toe. Got it. What normally happens after we do something like that? How stupid am I for stubbing my toe? God, that's the dumbest thing I've ever done to stub my toe. Who left this out here right now? I'm going to sit up here and yell at the kids. I'm going to yell at my wife. I'm going to yell at myself because I left this out to stub my toe. Scratch all that. You stubbed your toe. It's okay. Be aware of whatever caused you to stub the toe. Was you not watching where you walked? That means next time you're going to pay more attention. Is it something laying in the ground? Well, we're not going to scream about it. Let's go ahead and pick it up. Let's make a plan so that this doesn't end up in the same spot next time. You may stub your toe in the next room. We'll address that when we're aware that that's an issue for you. It's awareness, though. And what I love about it is that my guys come to the table with so much harnessed guilt and shame about their past habits and lifestyle that every mistake or slip comes across with this added level of shame. Awareness eliminates the shame. It takes away the guilt. It happened. If it didn't happen, I wouldn't be aware of it. Like, here's the reality of it. Even if you're not dealing with anything whatsoever, like on a compulsive issue, I want you to understand, because I direct this call to people who are looking to get to the next level. I'm not looking to deal with men who want to just stay average. Like the men I work with, they want more. They want freaking more out of life. So for those of you all wanting freaking more, that means you got to go to another level of life. So when you get that next level, you're going to, man, TD Jake says it best. New levels bring new devils. So if you manage the trigger in life here, but now you grow here, it's different. You got to be aware of what it is. It freaking happened. There's no beat up about it. There is no saying, oh, dang it. I can't believe I blew that when I was broke and I had no money. I was so careful with all of my pennies, and now I made my first $1 million. I can't believe I went and did something stupid like splurging on blah, blah, blah. Stop that. Like, I look at people and they talk about NBA players all the time and how they're blowing money. Like, look, they ain't never had it before. What are they supposed to do with it now? They don't know what to do. Everybody has the great ideas on the outside, but when you're experiencing something you've never had, you don't know how to handle those kind of triggers. You got to experience it. Then make the plan. Then bam, next level. Experience it. Make the plan. Bam, next level. That's what it's about. That's what awareness is about, guys, okay? Accountability, it moves you into the place now where it says that, and here's what's all about accountability. We hear accountability, or better yet, own your own shit. Well, because we hear that, we think, oh, man, all the bad crap in my life I got to be accountable for. Scratch that. Yeah, we're going to be accountable for the junk in our life, but damn it, we come to the table with a bunch of good shit, too. Like, I don't care who you are, where you are in life, doesn't matter. I'm a guy that believes that you don't come to the table unless you got something worthwhile giving. We're not having a conversation unless you got something worthwhile in you. So all that comes out. You're accountable for being that great ass guy. You're accountable for being the badass dude. Yes, you're accountable for your addictions. Yes, you are. Yes, you are accountable because you blew the life savings. Yes, you are. It's just what it is. You're also accountable for being the man that says, you know what, I'm tired of living life this way. I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling George. You're accountable to be the person that says, you know what, I mucked up 30 plus years of my life, and over the last 3 months, I've been trying to kick ass. And it took you 30 plus years to muck it up that bad. So what will happen in the 3 months? You got to own all of that, guys. Own all of that. Own all of that. So let's just jump right into it for you guys. I want you all to be aware, and I'm sorry, before I get to that point, the final step of that, guys, is about action, right? And what I love about the action we do, it's not about the bullshit that men in life we tend to hear, like be a man, go do this, go conquer shit. Set real plans. The action comes in our habits. The habits come from the micro habits, the mini habits. Like, no, literally, what are you going to do when you wake up and get out of the bed? Literally. How many push-ups and sit-ups and jumping jacks are you going to do? Literally, how much time are you going to invest just being with you before the chaos of the world comes and floods all of this? How much time will you invest staying right here? 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes? Let's plan that. That's where all that takes place in the action. We can do balls to the wall work all day long, guys. I'm with it. I'm the guy that runs you. Trust me, I do. If you worked with me before, you know it. You know I'm a guy, I don't let up. I keep pushing, I keep pushing, I keep pushing. But for everybody that lets me push, you all know what the end product looks like. It's not about better habits. It's not even about the philosophy. They got a new lifestyle. It's just about how their life now freaking operates. It's a new center that they stand on that says, yes, I accept the junk that I've done. Screw it. I'm here to keep kicking ass with the rest of this that's going on. Right? So let's go ahead and look at this a little bit more here, guys. Right? We look at the invitation that I want to make sure gets out to you guys. And quite frankly, you guys got 2 points of access here, right? The first offer I got for you guys is to join our Mindful Habit program. It's an online community. It gets you access to a private Facebook group where you get to interact with men that I just think freaking rule. Like the men in this group, my active guys in the group, you guys know it. I love you like nobody else. Like I carry you guys with me like right on the level of like with my kids, and like it's that deep for the men in that group. Like I protect you and I will come for you guys like nobody's business, right? However, aside from that online program, you guys now get access to the Mindful Habit online site, the website for Mindful Habit, where you now get access to a comprehensive workbook, over 180-page workbook that you're going to get. You're going to get access to about a 12 to 16-week program based on accountability. And that's how I look at the web program, guys. Like if you're that person that is looking like, okay, you know what? I've crossed this hurdle. I've crossed this hurdle. I've gotten these things handled in my life. I need something that's going to kind of keep me in line, that's going to keep me up to date with my efforts. This is where you need to be. This is where you need to be. If you're looking for a place that is, I need to learn the right habits just so I can function in life right, you need to be a part of the Mindful Habit community. Period, bottom line. And here's what's great. Some of you guys are a member of it right now. Some of you guys aren't. I don't know if you all talked to Craig about it, but he's about to hike up those prices. They're going to be $99 per month. So what I'm doing right now, guys, is that anybody with access to this post here and with this webinar, you guys get a 50% locked-in discount on it, $49 for it. You get access to 4 group coaching calls, right? So you got 3 group coaching calls during the week. Then you got my Killer Habit, Make a Habit Blitz, you know, that happens every Sunday, right? I just try to make sure we have a way to recognize that we're great to start the week and get a little bit of fire to keep that energy going and make it to the next group call, right? You get access to all of those different pieces right along with it. You're going to see a live or recorded presentation with the website as well, guys, that'll walk you through the workbook that's part of that website as well, right? Now, the second piece about this, guys, is that you guys are going to have access and an invitation to my Radical New Breed, New Habits Male 90-Day Blitz. Right? So what takes place with this and what makes this different than what you'll get on the website? Well, number one, the website, I love it. I believe that it's great for helping you guys to develop habits, create the habits you need. When you're really looking to make a true life change and make a real lifestyle change, that's when we need to talk. Like when you're at this place that says that I don't want to be defined as a man anymore. I want to make my own definition to who I am as a man and use that strength to walk into all of my labels and roles. Then we need to talk. When you're ready to make a decision that says that past the habits, I want to make sure somebody keeps me so in line with what I need to do that I would consider it like a cardinal sin if I don't get in contact with this guy, and I'm not going to like the phone call that happens when he does track me down. We need to talk. Trust me. If you want to get into this, then you need to get in contact with me, guys. If you're ready to make that change, and I want to help you guys understand, radical is not just a great name. What radical really means is that we're looking at a fundamental change to your actual nature. Like, we dig, we uproot, we yank out, we pull out, and we leave you raw to regrow and redevelop the man that you were destined to be, right? That point of invincibility for you within your own lane. Right? That's what we provide here for you with the coaching program. What comes with the coaching program, guys? Well, number one, you guys are going to get 2 calls a week, 2 sessions a week with me. You also get 2, and I don't put a lot of time on the calls. Listen, you don't got me all day, guys, but anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes, we end up having a conversation with most of my guys. But you get 2 sessions a week. You also get 2 emergency calls with me as well. So what does that mean? And look, guys, I'm a pretty upfront, honest guy. If you're the guy that's struggling with porn, sex addiction, I'm not going to recommend you get the web-based program. I'm just not, because now you're online at the same trigger that you had before without any sort of real accountability with you in that process, right? So again, you got 2 emergency calls. We also working it out. Craig is going to kind of beat me up for this one, but for a limited time, you'll get access to everything that comes within the online community as well. So that includes the private Facebook group. That includes the online content as well for you. That includes the 4 group coaching calls as well that you get with it. So you got to wrap all that in and get all those pieces, right? So all those work together for you guys, right? So you got a great pieces happening with the Radical Man Project. Get online, get on board with us. Just so you guys know how to reach out and get in contact with me, my number is 443-600-9169. If you want to reach out to me via email, that's necessarygrowthmovement@gmail.com, or the easy one for guys, which is George@themindfulhabit, all one word.com. Right? Feel free to email me at any one of those websites. If you want to just really get serious about this, though, and you want to schedule some time, then let's do that as well. Then you're going to be able to do that at calendly.com. That's CALENDLY.com/necessary growth movement. That's how you schedule time. Again, email George@themindfulhabit.com. And I'll tell you what, I'll do this for you guys. I'm getting used to the tech stuff. So I'm actually going to put this in the chat feature right here. All right, so you got the first one that came there to you, and then here's the other one. Necessary growth movement at gmail.com. Here's my number. And if you just want to really schedule, you want to like say, let's skip all the back and forth talk, email, you're ready to get serious, here's my website, or here's how you schedule time. All right, guys. So again, you looked at it, right? You got the cost for the online program. It's going to be $99 monthly. You get a 50% discount with this program right here, guys. Like I said, my boss Craig is going to get on you about that one. But also for me, guys, my coaching program, guys, a 90-day blitz for your manhood, a 90-day blitz to come home the person that you're destined to be. 90-day blitz to get your life where you want it to be. I don't know what that is worth to you. I ask you to think about what it already cost you. Again, you heard my story, guys. When I didn't have that, it cost me everything. It cost me my wife. It cost me my children. It cost me my job. And once I got a handle on these things, me and my wife have a better relationship now than we've ever had in probably 15 years. My children, they showed me a level of love that I know did not exist beforehand. Financially, which is big to a lot of you guys, well, I went from being the guy that was demoted to the guy that was promoted twice, ran his own office, and now I'm starting my own company. I get to kind of set life on my standards, right? So I want to make sure you guys have all that info there. And when we look at you guys getting set to do that, when we look at you guys connecting every part of you, we're talking body, we're talking your being, even spiritually. We're talking your bonds, who you connect with. You want to see that improvement take place? We need to get in contact and talk. It's $3,000 for a 90-day plan for you guys. People on this call right here, you get a 25% discount for those that look to get involved today. So those I want you guys to know about it. Don't worry, website's coming soon to you guys. But I did put out the information on to get in contact with me soon in that aspect of it. 25% discount over 90-day period. That drops it down to $2,225, $2,225. 90 days, guys. You know, you make the decision on how that looks like for you, right? That's less than, say, $200 a week or anything the way you want to look at it. But I need for you guys to really understand what you lost, you can get back. And I'm not talking about get back to average. I'm not talking about being the guy that was in a horrible state and then everything left and then it comes back to you in a horrible state. I'm talking about you being the guy that was horrible, hiding behind so much junk at home that you lost it all, and now you get it back and you don't harbor that same junk where you was before. Because that's what I needed to have happen in my life. Like getting the old life back once I looked back and saw how depressed, horrible, low self-esteem, how much of a liar and less of a person I was. I didn't want that shit back. Even if it meant my wife came back, even if it meant my kids came back, even if it meant that, you know, I'm loved and honored by all these people around me because I'm still freaking horrible. I wanted to get past that. You guys are ready for that? Let's connect. Don't waste any more time. We've done that a lot. There's no more to think about. There's no more to wonder about. There's no other plans or budget needs to be done. Make an action statement today. It could be the action of calling me, emailing me, scheduling time, or getting for the website. Make action happen today. Listen, guys, I love you. That's my time. I don't want to hold you guys up too much. I'm going to continue this, but for purposes of this being wrapped up so it can be posted onto YouTube for everybody else to kind of rewatch this, I'm going to shut down the broadcast, but I'm going to keep the chat room open so you guys can still be able to communicate. If there's any other questions you got going on, we can jump over to the chat room. Love you guys. Kick ass in 2016. Let's talk soon.